Mikey and Rinne stay in. Oh yeah.
Hi guys, welcome to Mikey and Rinne Stay In. I'm Mikey.
And I'm Rinne.
And today we have a wonderful guest.
Yes,
our friend Teresa.
we do.
Say hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's great.
Chocolate in hand.
Chocolate in hand, I love it. Yeah, we just had a delicious dinner. And we're having a little dessert. And some dark chocolate, some of my the skinny almonds, which are like the dark chocolate almonds that are so fucking good. I can't get over them. I think they're coated in a little
I'll chew them on mic for everybody.
cocaine. So we have a super weird setup. Teresa's our first guest that we've had actually in the crib.
So exciting!
Yeah. And so I'm sitting in on a booster seat sort of situation.
Creepily hovering over me.
Yeah. And so those of you watching us, you'll be able to see me.
You're welcome.
It's going to look great. And my back's going to go out because I feel super young and thin. It's going to be great. But yeah, we're going to talk about some fun things.
Yeah, so this is a really exciting interview. Well, number one, because you can see this beautiful person sitting next to us. We got to share dinner with her. And as you guys know that have been listening, we try and keep our interviews sort of loose format because we really want to hear stories.
Of course.
Yeah. And Teresa's got a really, I think, beautiful and unique story that we're going to hear more about. And so why don't we get started?
Yeah, sure.
Huh?
So why don't you just give us a brief little rundown on who you are, how we know you maybe. Get nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us all the things.
All right. I am. It's funny, your identity changes the second you become a mother.
Yes.
I'm a mother of two.
Awesome.
That's now the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Two adorable kiddos.
Two adorable kiddos. They're just wonderful,
They're
wonderful
rad.
children. A little boy who's 3, his name is Lockie, and a little girl who's almost 9 months old, her name is Simone. And I am the partner of a wonderful person named Damon. And I actually knew these beautiful beings from Damon's brother Garrett. They all share the love and passion of food and brought us together.
Amen.
Yeah, I grew up in Berkeley, California. That's a big part of my identity. And yoga is also a big part of my identity. And just connecting to people, I think, is a big part of my identity.
Awesome.
In many different ways. So that's me.
Cool.
Tell us, I'm actually curious, because I think of you as that, like a person that connects really deeply with people, and I haven't spent a ton of time with you, but every time I have with you, I feel like, don't I know her better than I actually know her? And so I'd love for you to, and maybe this isn't true, but do you feel like that's changed since becoming a mama? I'm just so curious.
I think, you're like, give a shit factor.
It has to, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because who you give a shit about is your kids, and it's not about what other people think of you.
Yeah.
So it has to change.
Fuck, another reason that we need to have a kid. I give way too much of a fuck
many
about.
shits.
Yeah, so many shit, so many fucks about
Oh my god.
what people think of me.
Yeah.
So let's stop all that. No. Let's have a kid.
It's a great way. It's a great.
Yeah.
That second that you have a kid,
Ah.
all of a sudden.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Okay, bring it on.
So I feel like since before having kids, I feel like I cared a lot more about like making sure that other people felt comfortable. And then after kids, I'm finding more and more of being my authentic self and how that also makes people feel comfortable.
Feel uncomfortable or feel comfortable?
Comfortable.
Comfortable, yeah. Sure, yeah.
Because people are attracted to authenticity.
Yeah.
And so
That's on some level the reason that we have the gargantuan diarrhea mess of a president that we have. As fake and fucking terrible as he is, he's like on some level authentic to some people. He's some version of authentic to people, and people responded to that.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring him into this, but
Yeah, let's not make a linear comparison between
No, but
Teresa and Trump.
but not to be too political about it, but this is like what our party needs next round is like we need like whoever it is, be fucking authentic and just stand for something. Yeah.
Totally.
Anyways.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And
But authenticity is it's a hard thing to it's something that we don't see a lot of in our culture. And I think that I don't know, I just feel like in the business world and in the social realm, there's so much fronting nowadays, like with Instagram, with everything, like everybody has to have their kind of curated story. Yeah. And so to see someone I've always felt that, like you're also someone who, like we're staring each other in the eyes right now.
Yeah.
And it's like very few people look into your eyes while they're speaking to you. And I do it like pretty intensely, and people sometimes like will call me out on it and they're like, I wish you didn't like, talk. But there's something I think cool about it. It's like this is like a human moment, we're talking, we're connecting, and since the day that we've met you, like it's authenticity is like a word that I would use for sure. Yeah. Nice.
That's sort of, I'm just thinking of another question, because I think being a woman and then also being a mama, there's a lot that gets sort of transferred to you, and there's a particular way to be a mom and a particular way to be a working mom and a particular way to have a birth and breastfeed and all the things. And so I'm curious how you've if that's been your experience, that you've sort of felt that pressure, and how you've navigated that now through a second babe.
your community. I mean, I could not. Of course, your partner is your rock and like your person, right? But my like girlfriends and my girlfriends that are moms, like my two best girlfriends, who we text nearly daily about everything. Yeah, like they're my sounding boards, they're my vent sesh people, they're my wise women, and I would not be able to do every day without them.
Yeah.
For sure.
They have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of them has 2 kids and one of them has 1 kid, and they're amazing, beautiful people, and they both work, and one of them is just like Lisa is just like a fucking lady boss. Like she's really high position, and she's working her ass off, and she is also just like a tender, amazing mom with an insanely stubborn little 3-year-old girl who's just like her, and like in the best way. And yeah, she's a great example of working moms. And then Sue is just like, I don't know, she's like my parent guru. Like she's like who I go to if any parent question comes up, and she's just like is insanely wise and all love all the time.
Yeah. It's so amazing to have a support system and to have, I don't know. Yeah, of course. And you know, we've talked about this a couple times on the show, but you know, Rinne miscarried right before 12 weeks, so right before we were gonna like start telling people, and before we had kind of our network set up.
Podcast.
What's that?
Thank you for that plug. She said, listen to the podcast.
Oh yeah, listen to the fucking podcast. And and it was, and so you know, and we've talked about this again on the show, like, is that we have a couple people in our world that like started telling people right away, and like we love the idea of like, oh yeah, like you can have your network from the jump. And I don't know, I love the idea that like circling the wagons after the miscarriage, we kind of like understood that we needed to like, who are the people in our lives that have been the most supportive and are not just fucking road dogs that are there for us no matter what. And it's obvious who it is, like, and they've popped up or they've just maintained and stayed there, and it's great. And I can't even imagine like with a child, and like when we have a kid, like you know, it's so important to have those things kind of established, and then to meet the people that are going to be like your new rocks and things like that. I love the idea of it, because it is like, I think part of the reason for me kind of switching my mind or changing my mind about wanting to, like, whether or not we were going to have a kid was like seeing people like, I saw a dad. I was at Mount Hood, and I saw this dad with a little daughter, and he was like teaching her how to ski, and I was like, so I'm just not gonna go through that. I'm just gonna like, we're not gonna have a kid. No, fuck that. Like, I want to be up here teaching my little girl how to ski, and that was like the day that I was like, we should start trying to have a kid. And I think kind of around the same time, just totally apropos of nothing, I don't know if I'd even mentioned it to you, but you kind of had a similar thing that was like, motivated you, and we both like switched like 180 degrees, like, let's try to have a kid.
Crazy.
Yeah. So. Anyways.
Well, and I love that you have a community of women where it's, you guys are all sort of each other's touchstones, and there's not a like competition for world's best mama. It's just like, hey, I'm gonna go to her for this because this is what she embodies and this is how awesome she is, and that's really beautiful.
Yeah, it is really beautiful, especially as you touched on in this world of like mom comparing moms, and weird things that women do.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, sniping each other. I mean, it's.
Out-mom each other.
Yes.
Why does that happen?
Every mom is momming so hard.
Yeah.
Like every mom.
Mom AF.
Yeah.
I think one of the main reasons that we'd love to hear your stories of your baby making and kiddo having and all the things. One of the main reasons that I think we wanted to have you on was because of to hear some stories about kind of like home birth and some of the decisions that you made around like how you wanted to have your children.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you give us a rundown?
So I definitely came from a community that outside of hospital birth, which is the technical term, was one that was accepted and supported and encouraged, both from my girlfriends who had kids before me, but also from my mom and Damon's mom. So Damon's one of 4, and the 2 boys, Damon and Garrett, who came first, were born in a hospital, and the 2 girls, Kate and Jessie, were born at home.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Anchorage. And so,
Yep.
and then both me and my brother were born at home. And to be honest, I don't know why my parents had an out-of-hospital birth other than I think it was just a bit more normal in Berkeley in the 80s.
Yeah, sure.
If there was a place where that was more normal.
I was going to say, I feel like that's the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the epicenter for
Sure.
sure.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of like, is it a family lineage? Like, had your grandmothers also done the same?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I know that my dad's mom, I'm pretty sure that my dad and his 2 brothers were born in a hospital. She was a nurse, and Damon's dad's mom was also a nurse.
Oh,
Okay.
So I think that they were all born in hospitals. And my mom's mom, she had 5 kids, and I think they were all in hospital.
Okay.
But, yeah, which now that you're making me think of it, I wonder if they were like, love to hear their stories.
right. Well, that's sort of my curiosity as we were thinking about what sort of birth we would like. Both of our moms entered into our minds, and we thought out of hospital births might be a tough sell. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting to hear having a supportive community and how that obviously influences your decision.
Yeah. I wish I could like state all the facts of like how more successful out of hospital births can be than in hospital births, but I don't have that in my head.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well,
We just want to know your story.
Right, and we do have, people in our life
Resources.
that, well, yeah, that too. But we also have people that on the opposite side of things that are like, all out of hospital births go terribly.
Right.
And so it's just, I think it's like,
Yeah.
I want to hear this, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Our show, kind of the premise of it is like telling the untold stories of women's health.
Yeah.
And so some of those stories, I think it kind of tacks negative, just because how often are people telling like, oh my gosh, like I just had a wonderful experience with, people want to tell the sensational stories and stuff. And I think there's something about out of hospital births, home births, or whatever that people want to like, they want to think that it's scary, they want to think that it's all these things, and I don't know, I don't want to hear those stories. I want to hear all the positive stories because it's an overwhelming majority of them are positive.
So from having an in-hospital and an out-of-hospital birth and that compare and contrast, like out-of-hospital was like so much smoother, better, magical, if it could be. Yeah. But I do want to pause and let your listeners know that although I did grow up in Berkeley, although I do practice yoga and I do believe in a lot of holistic alternative medicine,
I voted for Trump.
Confessional.
Fucking 2020, baby.
Now I have an engineering degree. I am a strong advocate for evidence-based medicine, education, science.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of bullshit that happens in holistic care, and I know there's a lot of bullshit that happens in medical care, and it's important for me that we do our research and to make sure that we're making safe and intelligent decisions for our bodies.
Amen, sister. How do you think I felt about what she just said?
I think you hurt me a little bit. You came in so hot into the microphone that we're sharing. You ripped off some of my mustache hairs.
Much of this show I spend pouring through research, which is, I'm sure, really thrilling for people that are listening, but it just really excites me, especially being in the complementary medicine field. So very much appreciate that.
If you tuned into last episode, she talked about basically that she's able to orgasm strictly from footnotes and bibliographies. So, oh yeah, it's awesome. Oh, did you say this was cited? Oh my god.
Primary research.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't even know. And on the last episode, I also proved that I didn't know those things. I did not go to an Ivy League college because I don't know how the fuck any of it works, and I think I've cited things 4 times in my life. So, I like superscript numbers though. Huge fan of that.
So tiny.
I love they're so tiny. They're just like
Especially
dollhouse
footnotes.
furniture. Bite them.
Dollhouse.
Like a dollhouse fork. I'm just like, oh, what's that little 4 doing over there?
What's it taste like?
Okay.
All right, we've derailed as we usually do. But so that's really interesting. So having all of that, and then what really drew you to an out-of-hospital birth?
Yeah, I guess I have always felt that there is a very important place and time for Western medicine. But hospitals scare me. And it's a place to me that I associate with trauma and where you go when something is really wrong and you need help. And they're a wonderful place because they do have a lot of monitoring. The staff in general is insanely compassionate, but it's also like flooded with bacteria and like despite its sterile nature, it's like really dirty. And when I am the idea of bringing this very vulnerable little life into that environment was just scary to me. And not only that, like labor and birth is one of the most vulnerable things you can do, and like hospitals are because they're required to like monitor you all the time, it just felt so invasive. And at this time in which you were sharing such a pivotal moment with your partner, to have like onlookers almost, it just it didn't feel right to me. Like I didn't want that experience. And I say that with all respect to people who do have hospital births, because I know for one, like one of my best friends is comforted by that type of monitoring, because it is, I mean, it you know, they know, and many women I'm really good friends with are comforted by that monitoring because they know that the baby's healthy, they know that the mom's healthy, they know that half an arm's distance away there is fluids, or there's a NICU or whatever they need if something should go wrong. And that they're comforted by that. And when you go through labor and that very intense time, you have to have what makes you feel comfortable. And so, yeah, utmost respect to people who want to do either way.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it does speak to the kind of bio-individuality and like personality of who you are going through anything. I mean, it's, like whatever the trauma might be. I mean, and then, we've told this story before, but I mean, like when Corinne had the miscarriage, it was one of the hardest parts of it that we didn't really talk about was the interruption element of it, of being in a hospital. Was there's so much fucking beeping. There's so many things to check. There's so many all of the things. And we were in like a hospital that was trying to be a little more like woke about things, and they kind of had like, I think the idea generally was that they were trying to have like less machines in the room or whatever. I don't know. It felt like we were on the set of a robot orgy because there was just like beeping machines just left and right, and so many fucking tubes and all the things. And so, and then we were like fucking so sad. I mean, this was going through a trauma, and like we would have a moment together where we'd be like crying, or I'd be like hugging with her or spooning her or something like on the bed, and then the nurse would come in, who was like a very sweet person, but it was just like, I don't know, sad coitus interruptus. Like, she was kind of like coming in and just being like, oh, hi guys, I have to just come in and check the beeping machine. And we were like, fuck, I don't know, we're like vomiting and crying right now. Like, it's super sad.
Right.
So I get it. I mean, I totally,
Well, and it's interesting too, because I've talked with a fair amount of women that have had the birth plan, and then their plan wasn't executed. Their baby had a whole nother plan.
Totally.
Right?
I feel like that's every labor I've heard of.
Yeah. Did you have that experience either with Lockie or with Simone?
Yeah. So with Lockie, we were planning on an out-of-hospital birth. We were planning on having a birth center at a wonderful center here in Portland called Alma. And long story short, there was concern that my placenta was pooping out. And so I wasn't growing very much towards the end, but again, we have so much information at our fingertips because of these wonderful scientific advances, but sometimes it's too much information. So there was red flags that were really not red flags. I'm just a small person.
Right.
My baby's small. I'm not going to grow very much towards the end. That was just it. But that became concerning. And so we made the decision with our midwives that we should go to the hospital. And in the end, I had to get induced. And anybody who has had an induction labor, it's a long slog. And it is unnatural, right? You're telling your body to do something that it's not ready to do. And so it makes your body fights it. So it was a long slog, and in the end, my placenta was fine, Lockie was fine, everything would have been fine if we were out of hospital, but we had that additional information.
Right.
And had we, done it over, we probably would have made the same decision. You always want to do what's best for your baby, and
Of course.
Yeah, totally.
so, but it definitely kind of left this taste in my mouth of like, that was too invasive. And I was really fortunate that I had like such supportive, my midwives, I had 3 midwives, and they became my doulas in the process at the hospital, and so they were our wisdom the whole time, and we had to make so many decisions in the hospital. We had to make so many decisions, and it's crazy to be making decisions when you've been in labor for 24 hours, and you still have to make another decision about how they're gonna break your water, and that fucking hurts, and like all those steps of the way, and but our midwives were there, and they were really supportive, and they helped us explain what was going on, and they were our trusted voice,
Cool.
And that is another wonderful thing about out-of-hospital births. Like a lot of times in hospital births, you don't necessarily guarantee your doctor.
Right.
When you do an out-of-hospital birth, you're guaranteed that it's like your midwife or your backup midwife.
Right.
And also you have this strong relationship with them because your appointments aren't 15 minutes long, they're an hour long.
Right.
And you
I
build
love
this
that idea.
connection, and they know you, they know what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, they know how to explain information to you. Like, oh my God. Like, and when you start something new and it is going on right there and you have these split-second pains and sensations and all sorts of things, you want to be able to understand what words people are telling you.
Yeah.
So I felt just like insanely fortunate that that they became our doulas, and then our main midwife Melissa was our same midwife with Simone.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Which was,
so you went back to Alma and decided, because this birth center will do a birth center birth or a home birth,
they
right?
will, but actually Melissa broke off with her friend to make a home birth practice.
Oh.
And so we actually...
We know them.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Oh!
Rose City Midwifery.
Oh! Yeah!
Yeah,
Totally!
we met them.
You did?
Yeah, they're
Oh,
great.
I
They're wonderful.
know.
Melissa is like the sage of all mothers.
Yeah.
You get that sense just from meeting her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like steadiest hand I've ever seen, you know, and just talk about authenticity. She is maybe the most authentic person.
Yeah.
ever.
That's a great word for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have these in the show notes for sure, like a link to both of them.
Yeah.
Both of the midwife
Yeah.
and birth centers. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're great. I mean,
They're great.
cool.
And they do, for people who are wanting in hospital birth, they will do all of your prenatal care and then you can have a hospital birth. Like,
I know that's wonderful.
That's
yeah.
really wonderful.
God, I heard a thing about someone in kind of the sphere of our world who had a free birth. Like, so no prenatal anything.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Home birth, no support.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
That's bold.
That is bold.
I mean,
that
it's wild.
stretches
That-
my comfort level.
No, thank
Yeah.
you.
No, it certainly stretches mine.
I feel it twisting
Yeah.
my stomach up.
Right. But I mean, it's like, wow, that is amazing. So I think it's super, and again, your journey is your journey, your
And
body, your choice, all the
women
things.
have been doing it.
Ooh,
Sure.
I know, yeah, right?
So, yeah.
A lot of women
used
that
to be
just,
the way.
yeah, go out into the woods and have your baby, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. All the stories.
Wow.
Very cool. Yeah. Okay, so that's great. I mean, and I love that it's those groups too. I mean, and Portland is such a I don't know how unique Portland is from a birth center / midwife perspective. It feels unique. I mean, it feels like there's more support and more. I mean, I don't know. Again, like of any city, like you were saying of Berkeley, like of any city that's gonna have like an unbelievable midwife, home birth situation, out of hospital birth situation, Portland is like, we're fucking with it.
Yeah.
It's like so part of our brand identity.
Oh yeah, I mean the woman that you get your out of hospital birth kit supplies
Yeah.
is here in Portland. And
Oh, okay,
she
yeah.
ships all over the country.
Okay.
Like, she doesn't have to be, but she's here. And of course, randomly, like when Simone is like 1 month old or something, I meet her at a party.
Oh,
Amazing.
nice. Awesome. Yeah.
And I was like,
What was
"I've
she
been
like?
to your house?"
What was she like?
She's exactly what you would picture.
Yeah.
Super laid back, like, yeah, I sell scoopers for the birthing tubs out of my house.
Yeah.
She's great. Yeah.
That's cool.
She has like a son who's super sweet. She
Yeah.
has her own birth kit supply business.
Cool. So did you do it in a tub?
I did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you can have that option or not, and we have a big bathtub in our house, but I actually it was my another woman who's awesome in this Portland community who owns Zanana Spa, and she's just
Oh, yeah.
holistic
Totally.
pelvic health care.
Yeah. You almost said pelvic hair.
Which happens to be there too.
That's there too. Yeah, all part of the game,
Oh
boss.
my god,
Yeah.
I just like flashing back to all these conversations I have with Lockie about why does Papa have no hair over his vagina and you have hair over your vagina?
Those are
Is that his hybrid vagina?
Oh yeah,
Vagina.
it's his hybrid.
Amazing.
vagina. Yeah.
Vagina.
I love it.
But anyway, Kelly Burke, who's awesome, she. Now I'm blanking why I was going to talk about her.
Zanana. Sorry, I totally derailed it.
No, I think the vagina derailed it.
No, I think we fixed that.
Well, you were just saying
Pelvic hair.
that
Public health care.
Public health care.
part of Portland's really amazing
Oh.
community too.
Yeah, and so like before, like during my postpartum with Lockie and then prenatal with Simone, I just was able to get both like just prenatal massages and like holistic pelvic care work, which was awesome, and just like another support system that we offer here in Portland.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is so important. I mean, like your pelvic floor is a lot of complicated muscles, and we don't like to talk about it, but it's pretty important for things to function pre and post having a baby.
Cool.
Would you, if you're comfortable, would you talk a little bit more about that? Because I don't know how many people listening will know anything about holistic pelvic care and sort of what that entails and what it means.
Yeah.
I
mean, like you can probably speak better to the anatomy, but in a cursory way. You know,
Vaginas are down lower than belly buttons
Yes.
and shoulders.
Dr. Sheep.
Oh, you were saying to me, right? Yeah. Vaginas are down there. Pelvic area is by vagina area.
I think it's vagina.
Vagina. Your vagina is near your belly button and butthole. Yeah.
Not to be confused.
Don't confuse them. Yeah. Not a doctor.
There's a lot of muscles and tissue in your pelvic floor, and that is responsible for like holding up like some of your organs, your critical organs, and not to mention like preventing you from peeing yourself.
Important.
And so, like anything that needs to be, like any muscle or tissue in our body, it needs to be paid attention to. It needs to be exercised. It needs to be like made sure that there aren't like adhesions and things getting stuck. And so holistic pelvic healthcare is just looking at like what is going on both externally, internally, and with all the muscles like your legs and your abdomen, of like what's going on with all of that, so that you can function, so that you don't, your uterus doesn't fall out, which does happen to some women, and your bladder isn't sitting too low such that you're peeing yourself, and your muscles are able to expand and contract. And birth is traumatic for all of the things down there. And so it's really important to repair it, just as you would if you cut your arm or if you hold your quad or whatever else in your body.
God, thanks for talking about that, because I think that that's another piece that we, as women, it's like, you know, I think for me, the whole kind of pelvic floor area is like that sort of pleasure zone, and outside of that, what else am I doing down there?
Yeah.
But I actually had a pelvic care appointment, and she was like, "No, you gotta like know what's actually going on in there. Like, can you feel things? Can you, you know?" And so it's so interesting to think about it not just as a like erogenous zone, but also as this, yes, it's a thing that gives birth. It's where you pee. It's where you hold up a lot of organs. It's also where you're structurally, if you're an athlete, you're using that pelvic floor all the time because it's connected to so many other muscles. And so I really appreciate you bringing that up, because I think it gets lost.
Yeah, for sure. And if you want to be athletic after you have a baby,
Right.
like jumping is a different experience after you have a baby, and like you don't want to. I don't want to pee myself all the time when I try. Right, it's gonna happen sometimes.
Sure.
But you know.
Rather not maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I'd love to maybe just hear one more. I don't know. You've had 2 births. It sounds like you've had 2 very different births.
Yeah.
I'm really curious as to like a nugget of some variety from your first birth, and then a nugget of some variety from your second birth. Whatever that sort of means to you, but
Okay, so with Lockie, 31 hours of labor, and I resisted Pitocin for as long as I possibly could, and was very stubborn and only allowed them to give me a very small amount. So I made it a lot harder on myself than I needed to be, but it's also how I believed it should be. And it was a really traumatic birth that I had to do a lot of crying and processing afterwards. And like, yeah, of course it did not go how I thought it was originally going to go. And yeah, it was hard. I mean, I have never felt that much joy and love before in my life when Lockie came out and I saw him. Ooh, for sure. But yeah, going through that, like it was really challenging and sad. So that was, I guess, that anecdote, like that nugget. And again, I would not have been able to be so strong and not have drugs. Oh, I tried. The nitrous does not do shit. Let's just be real.
I find that a really funny offering. Like, really?
Yeah, like,
that?
Thanks.
It also feels like, what fucking time machine did we just get into? Like, really laughing gas?
Yeah, like, okay. That's, but, like, then with Simone being at home, first of all, I kind of knew what I was getting into.
Yeah.
I had done it once. I was going in it with 2 people that were both there for the entire time.
Right,
Damon
that's
and
cool.
my midwife, and 3 people actually. Kate, my sister-in-law, was there the
right.
entire time
I remember
with
that,
Lockie
yeah.
and the entire time with Simone.
Come on,
Wow.
Kate.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
So Kate actually was the second call with Simone. Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, Simone came. I went into labor. Well, I started having contractions early in the day, but then I went into labor around 10:30 at night, and Lockie and Damon were already asleep next to me in bed, and I knew it was going to be a long night, and I needed Damon to be like energized, so I let him sleep, and I called my midwife.
Oh, wow, really?
And I called my midwife, and I called Kate, and Kate came over, and so Lockie and Damon were
They didn't know that you left?
No.
Awesome! What did you leave? Did you leave them like some breadcrumbs?
I then made them breakfast and
Obviously.
got them in bed.
Yeah, there was like a waffle ransom note or whatever that said like, I'm at this is all happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fully dilated this much in the living room.
Anytime now.
I'll be in the hot tub downstairs. Not so hot.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I was really, really lucky to have her by my side.
That's awesome.
Both of them.
She's a badass.
She's a badass in so many ways. Another lady boss beyond belief.
Yeah, LB.
And authentic and loving person. Yeah.
That's
Just
great.
a wonderful person. So I had her by my side for the first couple hours of the real thick stuff. And my midwife told me, because I said, like, when should I wake up Damon and Lockie? Because Lockie was going to be there until it was time that he shouldn't be. And my
Right.
parents were going to pick him up and bring him to their little house. So my midwife was like, you'll know when it's time.
Yeah.
And because I hadn't gone into spontaneous labor before, it
Oh.
was like this new world for me. Like,
Yeah.
even though I'd done it once, I just didn't also know the things
Yeah.
that happened.
Cool.
And so I was like, all right. And sure enough, like, things start getting more intense, and it's like, okay, I'm going to need the big arms. So
Yeah.
at that point, I think it was like an hour and a half or 2 hours later. I feel like I woke him up around midnight, and my midwives came over, and it was so cool because it's like so still at that time of night.
Oh yeah, sure, totally.
So it was just really still and quiet in the house, and I was laboring on the couch downstairs, and Lockie and Damon were upstairs, and then my midwives start showing up, and they're just these quiet, magical beings that just go and set up all the things, and like they're gonna be your love and support through the whole time. And so they're like doing stuff, and my parents arrive, and Lockie actually was with me on the couch for the first like hour that he woke up, from like 12 to 1, and that was like one of the sweetest things ever. He has like these 2 stuffed animals, bunny and dog. Guess what they are? They snuggle with him all night, and he was so sweet. I would have a contraction, and I would get visibly like in a lot of pain, and he would kind of shy away for a minute, and then as soon as the contraction would fade, he'd say, "Mama, do you want Bunny and Dog to make you feel better?"
Oh.
It's just like he got it, you know.
Yeah.
He got it, and he was so compassionate. And it was just like one of those moments that you're like, oh, and really move around, and it was just wonderful. So I made it upstairs and labored upstairs, and the coolest part of the labor, and I think like definitely Damon would say so, is I was able to get into this meditative state. I think is like how I would describe it. Where with each contraction, and this is not an uncommon thing, each contraction I would have a labor song, and it's just like this, whatever it is for every mama, it's, for me it was just like this, like I felt like I sounded like a Little Mermaid, probably not.
Wow.
Like,
So you were audibly singing.
And that song,
And you're saying,
allowed-
look at this stuff. Isn't it neat?
Wouldn't you think
My collection's complete.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's
What
it.
do you think I'm the girl?
What everything.
Yes.
Everything. Yeah, wonderful. But what sort of, what do you mean by labor song?
So when I said the Little Mermaids, because to me it sounded like
Oh, yeah, I love that.
but I'm sure it didn't. I'm sure it was much more guttural and much more like animalistic.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, Damon said it was beautiful.
Thanks for
But
doing
it was
Solid answer.
Good answer.
but it really got me through. It allowed me to manage the pain. It was mind blowing because it was like as soon as the contraction would come on, I would start like singing that song, and as it intensified, I would get louder, and then it would help me like dissipate the pain. And for a majority of the labor, the pain was manageable. And I shouldn't say it was just the labor song. I mean, I had my Melissa like rubbing my leg, and just from her like guru experience and spidey senses, she knew exactly where to push on my leg to remind me to relax into the pain, and yeah, like the way that she says things, the guidance that she gives with each contraction, and Sue having this mantra that she would tell Kate and Damon to say, and yeah, just all those things like really got me into the zone. And
Cool.
yeah, so I would say for 90% of the labor, it was not that painful. Yes, it was painful, but it was manageable. And it was like, I remember feeling in my head like, I could totally do this, like, so confident, like, yeah, this isn't bad. I'll have all the babies. I got this song, I got this tub, like, I'm good. I'll puke 5 million times, I'm good.
Yeah, I can big cough all night.
Yes. Bunny and Dog are by my side.
Bunny and Dog, oh, we'll get you through. But then, yeah, the last 10% when shit gets really intense. It's just painful and really hard. And I remember with Lockie, because the labor was so long, like pushing felt relieving. Like, it just felt like, oh, this isn't bad. And so I was anticipating that with Simone, it would feel the same way. Like pushing would be relieving. But it was not.
Not so much.
No.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like a whimpering dog, like just saying. And Kate, I think afterwards was like, yeah, when you were like, this is fucking painful. It was like real bad. But again, like, you know, that I think that start to finish of that really intense time was 18 minutes.
Oh wow, yeah.
Which, I mean, every woman is different. You can do a lot of things for 18 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's like an episode of Modern Family without the commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sitcom.
Yeah. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Just put it on.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, just watch
Yeah.
Friends on Hulu, no ads,
No ads.
18 minutes.
Premium.
Yeah.
You have to buy premium beforehand.
That's
You
true.
do have to have premium.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sorry guys.
Checklist.
Great.
God, Teresa, that
Wonderful.
I know I've like gotten teary and I've laughed my tits off and you've like dropped some wisdom and knowledge and it was really amazing to talk to you. So thank you for just being open to do this and for sharing your birth stories. It's really incredible.
My pleasure.
We've got one last thing. You game?
Game.
Okay. So with all of our interviewees so far, minus one because we forgot.
I think we did
because we're
forget.
not professionals.
Because we're done.
We have a 5 favorites list. So we're gonna ask you sort of rapid fire 5 favorite questions, and you just give us the first thing that pops
Like
into your mind.
reminds me of that show with the directors.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. It's just like that. Yeah. Just pulled together and all the things.
It's totally driven.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the first question, and I must admit, the first question kind of comes from a place where a lot of our stories that are being told, like some of them are are traumatic, or maybe have had some kind of negative things that have happened for people. And so our first question is, why don't you tell us the most recent positive experience you had with a healthcare professional?
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of positive experiences, so this is hard to
I know this
say.
is the thing. This is a very
Yeah.
positive episode, so
Yeah.
you might not have to answer that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
feel like my whole birthing process was
Awesome.
a positive experience.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. Take notes.
Number 2, let's do 2020 candidate. Your fave
Ugh.
currently. I know. We gotta do it though.
I mean,
And ticket, I think. Give us top and bottom ticket.
Ooh, yeah, top
Yeah.
and bottom.
man, okay, so I've been abstaining from the debates because
That's cool.
They're hard to watch.
they're hard to watch, and I feel like it's
It's a fucking clown car.
Yeah, it's doing worse. It's doing terrible things. I feel like
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I one think she's wonderful, and 2 from Oakland, Kamala.
Ooh, yeah.
Kamala
Yes. Love it.
Not that it's the right answer, but it's very good.
Oh.
No, I'm saying we're neutral. We're not fucking neutral. We love it.
I love Kamala.
But ticket, I don't know. I feel I want her to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're ready for it. As sad as that is to say, I hate saying it. So I don't know. And I feel like in order to balance that and get more votes, I gotta choose a white man, and I don't know.
Yeah. Buttigieg,
I know. I want to say him, but I feel like
the gay experience is gonna knock it all. It's gonna be too many
I don't even know
misnomers.
about that. See, I'm staying out of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's just like a black woman and then a gay man and whatever. I'm fucking. That's my ticket. It's
Yeah.
Kamala Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Sounds dreamy.
because it can't be Kamala. It's not Kamala Joe.
Oh.
Oh, God.
Like he's not gonna
Joe,
fucking take
talk
second
about
seat.
it.
Uncle Joe.
Yeah. Take those teeth and go home. Those pearly whites and kick brick.
Mr. Defensive.
What?
I said Mr. Defensive.
Oh, Mr. Defensive. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. Favorite 90s makeout song.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Can be slow dance song. Can be dry hump song.
However you made
there's
out.
just so many, but I feel like the first one that came into my mind was Cupid.
Oh, by 112?
Obviously.
Yes!
So good.
Yeah, so
Wonderful.
good.
My number. So I'm in the Pelican Brewery Mug Club, and they're like, well, "What number do you want your mug to be?" And I was like, 112. Or the Players Club. So my 112. Yeah.
Well, remember how you said it to the
Yeah.
bartender? You said 112, and he goes, "We're the Players 12."
Like,
Really?
Yeah. That song is so good. I can think of it right now, and I was
Oh,
like,
it's so sexy.
ooh, where the beat drops
little-
in, it's
yeah.
real quiet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Gosh.
Good one.
I'm not gonna say who I was making out with to that song, but she knows.
I mean, he knows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
They
yeah.
remember.
That's good. Solid.
Let's do, number 4, favorite swear word.
Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to beat.
Queen of all swear
really,
words.
It is.
Yeah.
Really does exist on top of the pile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I say it too much in front of my 3-year-old.
Whatever. You also cough a lot in front of me.
Yeah.
Big cough and the fuck. Oh man.
They go together a lot. I like that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great one. And the answer's usually fuck.
Yeah.
I know. So good.
Okay. Last but not least, favorite comfort food. Eat your feelings
Eat your
snack, as
feelings
we say on the
snack.
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pesto.
Wow.
Really?
Pesto. Okay.
Like just on its own?
I mean, yeah, but with pasta.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta have carbs.
Yeah, that
God,
sounds so good.
Sweet.
So good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Got a 112 while saying fuck because the pesto's so good.
Yeah.
That's a moment.
And
While Cameron's winning.
Could you imagine and giving birth?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
And
god.
there's a really like
With
wonderful.
Melissa rubbing her thigh.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
In
Done.
the tub.
It's done.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hybridize it all.
Yeah.
That's the way to live life. This was super fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
Nope.
Okay. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in this week to Mikey and Rinne Stay In. And of course, as always, I'm Mikey.
And I'm Rin.
And tonight,
Oh.
we're
Gonna
stay in. Oh yeah. I was in 112.
Clearly.
Bye.